David Ragan, driver of the number 38 MDS Ford. David, just walk us through your announcement that you made earlier this week and your thoughts coming in here to Bristol.
Yeah, thanks for having us in. Over the last 6 or 12 months, I've thought a lot about what my future looked like on the racetrack with my race team and my partners and me as a race car driver, and a lot of what my future looked like as a husband and a father and a leader of our household. And over the past couple of months, it was really clear to me that it was time to take a step back and be home a little bit more. And it's pretty simple as that. In the world of motorsports, to be a premier race car driver, I think you have to dedicate your life to driving that race car and being the best driver for the team. And that means putting racing first in front of everything else, in front of your family, your kids, your hobbies, a lot of things. And so I've enjoyed making that sacrifice over the past 10 or 12 years, and that's a sacrifice that was necessary to stay in the Cup Series as long as I have and to keep a job. And I've had a lot of fun. I've had fun, doing appearances and traveling to the tracks and testing and being on the simulator and a lot of things that it takes to be a competitive race car driver. But I felt like over the next few years, if I continue to make that sacrifice, I would really be in a tough spot at home with my young girls growing up, starting to be involved in activities outside of school and on the weekends and with friends. And one of the things that was kind of a catalyst to making this decision was they have some interest in different things that they haven't been able to do, my girls, because of my schedule. They can't, go and do an extra gymnastics on the weekends or go to swim lessons because, I'm leaving to go to a racetrack or I've got a commitment somewhere, and it wasn't fair for my wife to be running them around town, and just feasibly it couldn't work out. So I think it's important time in their years as they're developing and growing older and learning the difference between right and wrong, that I'm there to show them and to teach them and to love on them. And I still love racing and have a lot of things I want to accomplish this year, and I'll still be around and hopefully race a little here and a little there. But the days of full-time, Cup racing and that commitment level, I'm just ready to turn my focus to the household a little bit.
We're going to start here with Ben and then go to Jacob, then to Jeff, then to Bob.
David, Ben White with Lexington Dispatch. Honestly, you worked really hard to get to the Cup Series for a lot of years. How hard was it? I mean, how many sleepless nights did you really have to say it's time to do something different?
It was a really tough process to think about all the things, not only the things that would affect in my life, but in others. We have partners that are invested, in me personally, in Front Row Motorsports, a manufacturer that spends a lot of time and money investing in me as a race car driver and as a race team. All my fans, my friends, and certainly it's the only thing that I've known since I was a teenager. That's the only thing I've thought about, even when I should have been thinking about school and different things when I was a teenager. I was thinking about, my race car and what I could do. So that process was tough, but once it was clear to me in my heart, in my gut, after, some quiet time and prayer and things like that, it was a pretty easy decision once I got to that point. The process was tough, and it was hard to think about all of those things, and change is difficult sometimes. But once I got to the point where I was at ease and content, and I knew that was where God wanted me to go, it was a pretty easy decision.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. David, when you start to look back, and obviously I know there's still more you want to do this season yet, but as you look back on how far you've come over the last 13 years, what will you remember most about your time at the Cup level? And, is there anything at all you regret?
I mean, I certainly made a lot of dumb mistakes as a kid, as a 21, 22-year-old guy in the sport. I felt like I missed out on some race wins at different places, but that's just part of growing and learning. And I did the best I could with what knowledge I had then. I just wasn't as smart back then as I feel like I am today, or experienced. But I have so many great memories from just getting that phone call from Jack Roush that I'm going to get to go drive a truck series part-time with Mark Martin, to, moving up into the Cup Series, to making that first start at the Daytona 500, to, your first pole, to your first win. Those are all great memories, but probably the biggest is just the relationships that I've built inside the garage. I mean, I've got some great friends that I'll always continue to be friends with. My wife will be friends, and our kids will be friends with their kids through, throughout the last 12 years of hanging out, flying with each other, racing with each other, being teammates with one another. And so those are relationships that will carry on a lot longer than any driving career will.
Go next to Jeff, then to Bob, then to Mark, then to Kelly, then to Lee.
What's your ideal scenario for staying involved with racing or dropping into different types of races here and there? What would you like to see yourself doing?
Yeah, I think I have turned down a lot of opportunities over the past few years to run a one-off sports car race, maybe a truck race, even as simple as my Legends car or a short track race at some of the premier short track races around the country. That's something that I have a passion for. That is something that I grew up doing, and I think it's very important that the NASCAR guys give back to the short tracks. A lot of them do currently, but I felt like it was a distraction with my focus level at the Cup level for Front Row Motorsports and Ford Motor Company that, I didn't need to go and do some of those other things. And so I would love to run the 24 Hours of Daytona. I would love to go to Eldora and run the truck race. I love the short tracks. I love, some big late model races around the country. Like I said, I still have my Legends car that, they have a great summer shootout series in Charlotte that, is 10 minutes from my house, but it was always very difficult to go over on a Tuesday evening during the summer months to go. So, some stuff like that. If there's a right Cup opportunity at a track that I can succeed at and have fun at, I think I would consider that, but it would need to be the right situation with the right team and the right group. But I don't have anything planned out now. We'll kind of see how that shakes out. But I definitely still want to sit behind the wheel of a race car and go and compete some.
Bob, Mark, Kelly, Lee.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Where does running 30th in points play in this decision? Is it frustrating to know that your last year is not going to be the year you wanted, or is it easier to say, hey, if I'm going to run 30th, it's not worth it?
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of that. I mean, if I were racing for a playoff spot, it would be a little tougher decision, but I still think I would get to the same conclusion. I still think that that is a part of how excited or how happy you are, on race weekends, and you have to make that decision on what the sacrifice is worth. Is it worth leaving your family and leaving, important times with your kids and different things going on at home to go and struggle on weekends, and then that doesn't sound like a lot of fun sometimes. So yeah, it did play a part of the decision-making process. I still have the hope that we can clean our act up and get rid of some accidents and part failures and DNFs and try to improve on that some and finish the year on a good note. We certainly don't need to finish 30th in points. That wouldn't be any good at all. But that does play a role. If you're winning races and contending for championships, I feel like that the money's better when that's the case, and you can justify that sacrifices to keep going a little bit longer.
Mark?
Mark Garrow, PRN. David, how do you want people to remember you as a person and as a race driver as you wind up your racing career, your full-time racing career?
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't thought about that. That's a great question, and I think first off, we should be remembered for who we are. Maybe not the accomplishments that we had and the trophies that we have and the amount of zeros in our bank account. I mean, those are all material things that come and go. When I'm dead in the ground down the road, that stuff doesn't make any difference. That it's the impact you have on others and what you do for your family, for others that you care about. So I hope that they remember me as a good guy and a guy who loved the Lord and loved my family and loved racing. And that's kind of who I am. And I'm not that flashy of a guy. I don't really care too much about, how many followers I have on social media or what my brand is. And I think that hurt me a little bit, over time. But that's something that on that spectrum, I don't really have much, I don't care that too much about. But yeah, I think it all depends on how how you interact with other people and what you do to help and to serve the others.
My follow-up to that is any what-if moments in your career?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, I think people would be lying if you didn't go back and think, man, what if? What if I would have gotten a driver coach and had a couple of different mentors when I was, a rookie or coming off of a great season in 2008? Could that have changed the course? Wonder if I would have won the Daytona 500 and not changed lanes before the start-finish line. Would UPS would have stayed at Roush and things would have went on? So sure, but that's kind of fun to go back and laugh and joke about, but we don't live in a world of what ifs, and so I'm humble enough to go back and think about those things. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't keep me up at night. Sometimes it's just a good laugh and a good story.
Go to Kelly, then to Lee, then to Jim.
Kelly Cronin, Racer.com. I guess on that same line, David, is there anything about your career that feels incomplete?
I always wanted to race for a championship and win a championship. I mean, everybody that gets to this elite level, you want to be the best. But I think that that some of those titles and trophies and achievements, that they're only short-term victories. I mean, that's something that just leaves you wanting more. I mean, the real things in life that have true contentment are how your kids love you and how you have an impact with others in your community, and what kind of marriage you have and stuff like that. I mean, I think those are the things that really matter. If I would have had a few more wins or that championship, I don't think I would be any different now. And I think if you ask any of these guys in the garage that have won more races and won more championships, it's never enough. You always want more. And I mean, that's obviously the goal of the sport that we've competed in, and that's what we live by and die by in the sports and entertainment world. But that's certainly not what defines me. And so no, I don't really have anything that I look back on and think, hey, if I would have won 5 more races or 10 more or even 20 more, would that change who I am? Probably not. You have a few more trophies at the house, but that really doesn't mean a whole lot at the end of the day.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. On that always want more tangent. A lot of guys, before you came in, stayed longer because they weren't making the kind of money when NASCAR exploded.
Yeah.
I would think that, since you were there for the bump, that you've been able to, put enough away and be comfortable, and it allowed you to make this decision where now this next generation isn't getting that same thing. Is it, having that luxury of having made a nice living, did that give you this kind of freedom to look back and say, this is the kind of life I want to live, this is the kind of life I want to give to my daughters?
Absolutely. I mean, I was very fortunate to come in at a time where drivers made more money, sponsors were spending a lot of money, and there was just generally more money, flowing through. And I was very lucky that I had, conservative parents and family members that kept me grounded and didn't let me go wild, and that they stashed all the money back home in Unadilla, Georgia, so I couldn't get it. So, I mean, yeah, being in a financially stable situation certainly made the decision better. I mean, I think you have to have an income and job and resources to take care of your family. That's an important role in being a father and a husband. But to be able to have the necessary things to live our life and continuing the life that we currently live is a blessing, and it's something that I don't take for granted. But it also is a timing thing. I think that
a lot of those guys stay too long, and I mean, you're leaving where you could still go out.
Well, there's a sweet spot. I look back over the last 30 or 40 years, and some of those guys stayed a few years longer, but because the money was getting so good, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I have reached out and called a few of the guys that retired and talked to them, and 9 out of 10 of them said, I raced 2 or 3 years too long, but the money was too good. I wanted that one more win. I wanted, and looking back, it really wasn't worth it. So that was some really good advice that a few different guys gave me. And, so to answer your question, absolutely, the timing of my career was really good. I still think that drivers coming in today can make a great living, but it's hard to be disciplined living on a budget in this garage when sometimes the more flashy you can be, the cooler you think you are. And so I'm glad that I really never got caught up in that.
And I'm sure you're going to spend more time with the Shriners, but do you also have any interest in doing TV or politics?
You know, I follow politics a little bit, but man, that's a pretty hostile environment today. So I don't know that I could do that. I mean, maybe like a community role, some way, shape, or form, something small. But anything on the state or federal level would be more than I think I would be willing to do. I don't know that I'd want to put my family through that. That may not be good. But yeah, the TV role that I've had in a small case at Fox doing some of the Race Hub analyst work has been very good and a lot of fun. And we'll have some of those discussions, over the next couple of months and see, if I can stay involved in some way, shape, or form in that. And I forget what your other question was, but. Oh yeah, and the Shriner stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm still an advocate for the great things that the Shriners Hospitals for Children are doing. I'm a member of the Shriners fraternity, so I'll be able to do some other things that I haven't been able to do in the past. I get a lot of requests to to go and speak at different functions that are raising money and awareness for the Shriners or for even kids with disabilities. A lot of you guys know my brother has Down syndrome and is a big race fan and around, and so I've had to turn down most of that kind of stuff because the functions are on Friday nights or Saturdays, and I've been at the racetrack. So yeah, there will be some different things that I can do that I haven't had a chance to even consider over the last 10 years. So who knows how that will all shake out, but yeah, I'll still love, telling my story, telling my family story, talking about my brother Adam and his impact on my life, and then certainly the great things that the Shriners are doing.
Okay, we're going to go to Jim. They're going to wrap with Claire B.
JimMutterMotorsport.com. Correct me if I'm wrong, because after many years it blurs together, but didn't Jack put you into Fulltime Xfinity and Cup in the same season to start with?
Yeah, so I was a rookie in Xfinity and Cup, running for both Rookie of the Year and the Xfinity and the Cup Series in 07. So
my question is, because this comes up a lot about whether certain drivers think they get rushed or were rushed at a certain point. What does David Ragan's at the time view of that situation differ, or is it the same as David Ragan today's view of doing that?
Yeah, back in 06, I ran a part-time truck schedule. I think I ran 15 races or 16 races, and I had just come off of running a part-time ARCA series schedule. So I think the last full-time series I'd run in anything was like a Legends car in 2003. And so when they said, hey, we want to move you to the 6 car, we're also going to move you to a full-time Xfinity car so you can get some experience. At the time I thought, I can do this. I love racing. I'm a driver. I can go fast. Let's go. And we go to the Daytona 500. We run 5th, and we go to California. And we run like 14th, and we're sitting 6th in points. I think, man, this is pretty easy. Like, I got this. And then reality set in, and that rookie season was okay, but we struggled. But it was so hard soaking in everything. And like I mentioned earlier, that I kind of thought that I was just a fast race car driver, but I did not know how to race 500 miles, and I didn't know how to take care of my equipment, and I didn't know how to be driving at 90% sometimes and 100% at times, what it takes to win these 500-mile races. And so I learned a lot, kind of got thrown in the fire, and that's the way some things just go. And I do feel bad for some of the kids in today's world that think they have to be a full-time Xfinity driver at 18 and in the Cup Series by 19 or 20, because it's hard. And I think if you go and ask some of the young drivers who got a second chance, and I think of Joey Logano all the time, one of the best drivers in the garage today, and the guys over at Gibbs kind of threw him out, and they thought that he might not be able to make it. And so I think that there is something about establishing your foundation, getting your confidence, and maturing kind of all together. And I didn't have any choices back then. I was just ready to go and race. But looking back at it, it was hard. It's a miracle that I was able to survive, and like I said, keep a job for the next 12 years because those first couple of years were tough. And so anyway, that's the world that we live in. And some drivers can get thrown in those situations and succeed right off the bat. But I heard Harvick talking a little bit about Chase and Ryan Blaney and some of these guys. It's hard in the Cup Series. There's 25 really good drivers and teams, and it takes a few years to kind of get that foundation and everything established.
Is it sort of unreasonable to expect someone at that age presented that opportunity to think long-term and say, this might not be good for me down the road?
Yeah, it is unreasonable because as a kid, you got to take it. And I think if I had to do it all over again, I would take it too. And it really makes you mature at a quick and young age. I mean, there's nothing that could come across me, I think, today that would scare me as much as some of the pressure that was on me. When you're talking about millions of dollars being spent on marketing and development, and you're expected to go hop in a race car and go win, and that's tough for a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old. So, but you gotta take those opportunities and make them run.
Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I don't want to peg into asking about, maybe TV or something that we already have seen you do, but, what did being a driver in NASCAR teach you, the drive, focus, excellent? What do you take away? And is there something that you would really love to do that you haven't been able to do yet, aside from the family? I know you want to go back and be with your family. Is there something you'd really, really love to do?
The Sirius XM post-race show. That would be a lot of, tag along with you, Claire, and hang out, when the lights are getting shut off at 1 o'clock in the morning Saturday. I might do that at some point. But, yeah, I mean, I think being a race car driver, like I was explaining to Jim, you are not only racing for yourself and your family, but you're racing for thousands of employees that are supporting the motorsports program at Ford Motor Company. Your sponsor that may have thousands of employees, thousands of race fans, and everybody's counting on you to, go fast, say the right things, interact with your friends and family and different people at a Q&A session or autograph session. So there are a lot of responsibilities and a lot of pressure on a race car driver. And I think some of the things that I've learned is, how to manage some of those expectations, how to deal with a lot of stress, kind of how to manage that. But I think how to, work with a team and be a team player and think about your scheduling and what, what you want over the course of a weekend, over the course of the year. You're really a CEO of that all those moving parts and pieces. And so, whatever drivers do post-driving career, whether it's in business or, local community setting or your family, it really teaches you a lot of valuable life lessons at a young age. You learn how to deal with defeat on a regular basis. I mean, if you win 5 races in a year, you've had a great season, but you've lost, 33. So you lose a lot more than you win in this sport, and so you learn how to deal with those low times. You learn how to manage expectations, and so there are so many life lessons to be grateful for, that I'm grateful for, that I've learned, and they were a lot of hard times over the past 15 years, and so I'm grateful that I had good sponsors, great car owners, good mentors that really helped me out a lot. And I probably should have been fired several times over the course of the years, but I was always able to kind of hang in there, and grateful for those life lessons.
Well, good luck to you, and you can join me in studio till midnight or 1 a.m. anytime.
Well, that's past my bedtime, but maybe I'll make a sacrifice for you one time.
Well, David, we're certainly grateful all the time you've given us over the years, and really appreciative of you. And good luck this weekend in Bristol and closing out the rest of 2019.
Yeah, thank you guys.